What up guys, Jeffrey Gaming here and welcome to this second review of the season as the Malaysian Grand Prix was this morning, and yeah, these are going to be my thoughts about the race. Overall I'd say it wasn't great, it wasn't the most exciting, and the season's been a little bit disappointing in my opinion so far. But first of all, it was dry, it was humid, it was really hot, and I'm not speaking from experience. So the start, Hamilton obviously was on pole, got a good getaway. I think pretty much the whole grid got a good getaway, apart from, I think it was Verne, who started 9th, then was pretty much last after the first lap. But yeah, everyone swerved to the right. I think Vettel was so close to putting Rosberg into the pit wall, but Rosberg was really brave and got past him there. So the Mercedes were up in front, which for the race wasn't the best thing to happen, because for once, I'd actually say that the race would have been better with Vettel in first, because then the Mercedes would have been attacking and it would have been more exciting. But yeah, Ricciardo overtook Vettel at the start, which was good to see in a way. That kind of contradicts what I've just said before, but seeing him get ahead of Vettel, because in my opinion Ricciardo isn't the best of race starters, but he showed what he can do this time. I think the Ferraris were like 5th and 6th, something like that. But yeah, what else happened? The next thing to happen was obviously Magnussen crashing. I don't think he really did into Raikkonen. I'm a Ferrari fan, and I don't think it was Magnussen's fault, to be honest, because his front wing was there and Raikkonen pretty much turned in on him. So it was really unfair. I wouldn't have given him a penalty, but it wasn't a major penalty, just a 5-second one. And yeah, that's one of the new rules for this season. It was really interesting to see. A couple were dished out, and I think it's a really good idea. It doesn't destroy the race for that driver, because could have given him a drive-through penalty, and that's about 15 to 20 seconds, and that's race ruined. 5-second penalty, it's pretty fair. It was a minor incident, so that's been a good, an additional rule added to this season. Later on, it was more of a tactical race. There wasn't a lot of action, apart from the obvious DRS zones, but it surprised me how there wasn't that much overtaking, to be fair. Apart from a little bit in the DRS and the first sector where you'd expect it to happen. And another incident that I forgot to mention was Bianchi crashing into Maldonado on the first lap. The commentators on Sky F1, I think, blamed Bianchi for it, but they didn't actually see there was a slight touch from, I'm not sure who it was, but you could see the slight touch, and he probably broke too late as well, so maybe a bit of both. But yeah, that was another thing that happened. I'm struggling to think, because there really wasn't too many memorable moments until near the end where things picked up a bit. So it's more tyre strategy and just, yeah, strategic race overall. In the pits, it was all going quite smoothly. There's a bit of action between Alonso and Ricciardo, good driving there. I thought Alonso got ahead, but I think he broke a little bit too late, went wide into turn 1, and Ricciardo got him back. Then obviously Ricciardo's second pit stop, where his race was ruined by the team. Seems like he's taken on Mark Webber's bad luck from the last few years, because it never seems to happen to Vettel. He's so lucky in that sense. I suppose he retired in the first race, but it's like the first time in a long time. So yeah, Ricciardo's front left tyre wasn't on properly, so he drove down the pit lane a little bit, had to stop. And then there was a load of Red Bull mechanics running down the pit lane, so he must have lost about a lap. And then I think a couple of laps later, his wing broke on a curb, which you really wouldn't expect at all. So I'm not sure if it was strong enough, or it had been damaged on someone else's car, but it's so unlucky in that sense. And to top it off, it broke off on the start-finish straight, so he had to do another lap with a damaged wing, which was starting to tear the tyre. You could see a ring round the tyre. So yeah, that was him out the running, and he eventually did retire from the race. Another big incident would have been the Williams situation. it always seems to happen in Malaysia, all these team orders where Bottas at the end of the race was going faster than Massa, because I think Massa was on 2-lap older tyres and they were really close to Button ahead. So maybe if Bottas had got past Massa, he could have got Button as well, but it didn't happen. Massa did not let him through, which in my opinion was the right thing to do, because after how many years of Ferrari? It must have been 8-9 years of Ferrari, being number 2 to Schumacher and Alonso. When I heard it, Valtteri is faster than you, it just brought back so many memories of Fernando is faster than you. Oh man, but I'm really glad he didn't let him past. And yeah, he really did the right thing, because if he did let him pass, then it's not a good sign for the rest of the season. Bottas would mentally would have the advantage, and points advantage as well, which wouldn't have been good for Massa. So respect to him for not letting him past. I definitely wouldn't have let him past at all. So yeah, that sums up the race really. Not a lot happened, but looking at the results, Hamilton obviously won from Rosberg. It was a pretty simple victory. I'm surprised by the gap though. I thought Rosberg would be faster, because he is my tip for this season. Though Hamilton is faster, I think Rosberg is going to get the luck. He'll be more consistent and he'll get the win in the end. Vettel third, back on the podium, which is kind of good to see if we want to see closer racing. But yeah, it was a really good drive from him. It wasn't too spectacular. He got overtaken by his teammate at the start, but he recovered up to third. And then Alonso fourth, the main man. Yeah, had a pretty unspectacular race once again, just like Australia. So that's 2 fourth place finishes for him this season. I think that might be what the season's going to be like for him, because the Ferrari isn't the best of cars at the moment. But he seems to be getting the most of it. Most out of the car, which is good to see. So I think he's going to be a really consistent point scorer this season, and he did overtake Hülkenberg, I think 3 or 4 laps in the end, because of a 3-stop strategy over 2. That's what the teams like Force India and Sauber are going to do, because it's the best chance of getting higher points, and that's what Hülkenberg went for. It didn't pay off for 4th, but it got him 5th place. He was miles ahead of Button in 6th. But it begs the question, why isn't Hülkenberg in a bigger team? He really should be. His performances are so much better than the car he's in, or the cars he's been in. The Williams, the Force India and the Sauber, consistent point scorer. He's got a pole position. He's got to get signed up for a big team for next season, and if he doesn't, then I don't think it's ever going to happen. Button in 6th, consistent drive from him, barely saw him in the race, and he held off Massa and Bottas, who I have already mentioned with a team orders incident. Magnussen 9th after his penalty, so some more points for the rookie, with Kvyat in 10th as well. So they're having a great start to their career. It might just be minor points, but it's better than nothing, and they're showing what they've got. So apart from that incident with Raikkonen, it was a good job from Magnussen. Kvyat had a pretty quiet race. I don't think I saw him too often, though we did have that incident with Alonso in qualifying, but it's a learning experience for these guys really. 11th was Grosjean. He finished the race, which is a good sign. It's a real shame, because Grosjean's a great driver. He should be up there like he was in the second half of last season, but the Lotus car just isn't there whatsoever, and the 2-prong nose just looks horrible. Well, to be fair, most cars look horrible. I noticed that today. Most of the cars looked even worse than 2 weeks ago. It might have been because I haven't really seen the cars for 2 weeks, but still, disgusting. Raikkonen in 12th, never really recovered from the, I think it was 2nd lap incident with Magnussen. It was going to be tough. I think he had to make an extra pit stop than he really wanted to, but I don't think he would have been anywhere near Alonso. And Alonso's definitely got the measure of him so far. And then the other finishes were Kobayashi, Ericsson and Chilton. So yeah, that's a quick summary of the Malaysian Grand Prix. I'd rather keep them short, because if they're too long they get boring. So I'm gonna keep doing this for every race this season. Hope you enjoy it, and I hope to catch you in my next video.